good. See if you can top that, man. Can you top that?
Look at that.
Here's to Devil's Night, my new favorite holiday.
Much of what is done in Halloween comes from the ancient Druids. Halloween began over 2,000 years ago in the 2nd or 3rd BC among the Celtics and their pagan priests called the Druids. The Druids are thought to be by many history's king of the occult. Witchcraft, Satanism, paganism, and virtually all facets of the occult acquire instruction from the Druids. Halloween can be traced directly back to Samhain, the ancient Celtic harvest festival honoring the Lord of the Dead, also known as the Lord of Darkness, aka Lucifer. Druids were devil worshippers. The Druids recognized summer and winter seasons. They celebrated 2 special nights of the year, Beltane and Samhain. Beltane took place on May 1st and marked the birth of summer. Samhain occurred on November 1st. It signified the death of summer. Samhain means summer's end. Just Google Samhain, summer's end, and you will see the date each year. Now, the word doesn't look how it's pronounced. Samhain is a night celebrating death and hell. It was the Druids' most important ritual. It was a terrifying night of human sacrifices, and it was the original Halloween. So Halloween and Samhain are the same thing, but let's keep going. The Druids' New Year started on November 1st, so obviously their New Year's Eve is October 31st. The Druids believed that on this night, all of the people who died in the past year would rise up and search for the passageway to the netherworld. On this night, the passageway or veil between both worlds was its thinnest. Their lord, Samhain, would roam the earth in search of these souls to capture them and take them to the world of darkness. To this day, some people put lights in the windows to help the dead find their way and keep Lord Samhain away from taking them. The World Book Encyclopedia states, the Celts believed that the dead could walk among the living at this time. The living could visit with the dead. This ancient belief was even paired with the ability of some people to communicate with these spirits of the dead. And at Samhain, this was something to be embraced, even celebrated. They felt they surely could find some way to capitalize with communicating to these spirits, like gathering occult power or the spirits giving them knowledge, etc. So this is where Halloween and its customs started, with the Celtics and their pagan devil-worshipping priests, the Druids. So as we move more into history, we go to the beginning of the 7th century, where we see Pope Gregory I. The Roman Catholic Church was moving along with their world domination in the name of God, and they were now seeking a mass conversion of Britain and Ireland, where of course the Celtics are from. In order to assist the conversion, instead of doing away with the native people's customs and beliefs, the Pope adopted them. They didn't do away with Samhain, they adopted it, but changed the name. Samhain to the Roman Catholic Church was now All Saints' Day. In the 8th century, Pope Gregory III is said to have moved the date of All Saints' Day from May 13th to November 1st, again the same day as Samhain. He did this when he dedicated a chapel in St. Peter's in honor of All Saints. All Saints' Day, also called All Hallows' Day, Hallow Mass, or Feast of All Saints in the Catholic Church, is a day commemorating all the saints of the Church, both known and unknown, who have attained heaven. This is a day of celebration and prayer to the dead saints. This is not biblical in the slightest. In Latin America, this time is also known as the Day of the Dead, again with people praying to the dead. So October 31st, the night before All Saints' Day, also known as All Hallows' Day, is the time of the most intense activity, both human and supernatural. They believe it allows the souls of the dead to come back to earth and walk among the living on this day. This is the eve of All Hallows' Day. Let me break it down. The day before All Hallows' Day, October 31st, was recognized as All Hallows' Eve. Remember, All Saints' Day is also known as All Hallows Day. Hallow replacing saints. Hallow as a verb is to honor as holy, but as a noun it means saint. Een is a contraction of eve or evening before. This is where we get Halloween. Hallow plus een, the eve of All Hallows Day. This is the day where people worship the dead. Halloween is a lot like Christmas. The Roman Catholic Church adopted it to appease their converts and try to place a holy name and cause around a pagan, devil-worshipping tradition. Now that you know where Halloween comes from, let's talk about the customs and practices that are associated with Halloween. Going back to the Druids, because again, this tradition comes from them, the Druids performed horrifying human sacrifices and other vile rituals during Samhain. Let there be no doubt, Samhain night was a terrifying covenant with death and with hell. The Druids believed during Samhain the mystical veil separating the dead from the living opened. The Druids taught that these Roman spirits loosed on Samhain when searching for a body to possess. Druid priests led the people to diabolical worship ceremonies in which horses, cats, black sheep, oxen, human beings, and other offerings were rounded up, stuffed into wicker cages, and burned to death. This was done to appease Lord Samhain and keep spirits from harming them. Again, Halloween has always been a celebration of death. This is also where the origin of bonfires come from. The word bonfire actually comes from bone fire, which was all that was left after the sacrificial ceremonies were ended. To obtain offerings for these bonfires, Druid priests would go from home to home asking for animals and humans. Those who gave were promised prosperity in the coming year, and those who did not were cursed and threatened. Trick-or-treating. Some people thought they could exorcise these spirits from their presence, meaning cast them out, or free themselves from any evil sway one of them might bring. It was believed that all of the wandering spirits would get hungry. By setting out food for these spirits, even providing shelter of some kind for them, you could appease them. If the living didn't provide enough food or treats for these spirits, the spirits could easily reciprocate or trick the living in many ways. Many feared the terrible things which may happen to them if they didn't honor the holiday and the spiritual manifestations throughout, so they left out food and treats for the spirits. This is where we see the beginning of trick or treat. It's the demons saying to you, "Give me something, or else I will torment you." Halloween costumes. The very people who went out looking to burn animals and humans to death feared the spirits they thought to be so powerful on this night. They believed they could escape the wrath of evil spirits by wearing ghostly or ghoulish costumes themselves. They thought that by disguising themselves to look like evil spirits, the wandering spirits of the earth might mistake them for one of their own and leave them alone. This is why people dressed up in costumes for Halloween in the past. They were hiding from the spirits and demons which were roaming the earth. Jack-o'-lanterns. The original jack-o'-lantern was not a pumpkin or turnip, but a severed human head. The Druids reverenced the severed human head. They proudly decorated their houses and temples with bloodied severed heads. The Druids believed the head housed the soul. It is believed that faces, rather than other images or symbols, were originally carved onto the pumpkin because they gave the jack-o'-lantern the look of a head. The Celts of ancient times believed that the head was the most sacred part of the human body, for it housed a person's immortal soul. When people make jack-o'-lanterns, they are representing human severed heads. You see, there are so many customs that have to do with Halloween that are completely evil. But based on these three I mentioned, you should get the point. When you give out candy to the trick-or-treaters, or even allow your kids to be trick-or-treaters, you are participating in Druid practices. When you or your kids dress up in Halloween costumes, you are participating in a satanic festival. When you carve jack-o'-lanterns and pumpkins, you are imitating a severed head. Understand, this is all about spirits and demons, and whether you know it or not, you are participating in customs that have to do with the occult and Satanism.
First of all, the history of Halloween starts with a holiday, an ancient Celtic holiday. It's pronounced Samhain. All Saints' Day, or All Hallows' Eve, is much later on the timeline. In ancient Britain and Ireland, the Celtic festival of Samhain Eve was observed on October 31st, at the end of summer. It was an occasion for one of the ancient fire festivals when huge bonfires were set on hilltops to frighten away evil spirits. The souls of the dead were thought to revisit their homes on this day, and the autumn festival acquired sinister significance with ghosts, witches, hobgoblins, black cats, fairies, and demons of all kinds said to be roaming about. In addition, Halloween was thought to be the most favorable time for divinations concerning marriage, luck, health, and death. So right away, if I did not tell you this was the festival of Samhain, you would automatically be thinking Halloween, because this describes it to a T, and we haven't even gotten started yet. So ladies and gentlemen, we see right off the bat that the actual origin of Halloween had nothing to do with All Hallows Eve, that its roots go all the way back into a pagan cultic festival called Samhain. Today, even in Satanism, the high holy day, guess when it is? October 31st. Where do you think they get that from? Is it made up? They too believe.
Our enemies are innovative and resourceful, and so are we. They never stop thinking about new ways to harm our country and our people, and neither do we.